If you're at all active over on Instagram, chances are you've seen at least one post scroll by Brick Sheeper. They have made a ton of really cool Star Wars models, and I didn't realize how many of their older models I'd seen in another format, such as on a YouTube video. Brick Sheeper have created completely new minifigure designs that are for the most part brick built. They tend to use pieces like helmets just to add that extra detail to minifigures that you're not going to get in a 1x1 brick unless you use some kind of sticker. But this got brought to my attention in my comment section quite some time ago, and I've been meaning to build some of these. Now, I don't have the whole collection built for this video, but I did end up going back and building one of these Stormtroopers because I still own one of my Stormtrooper pawn pieces from my Lego Star Wars chess set. And I must say, I really do want to recreate an entire chessboard using this style of minifigure. So let me know in the comments if that'd be something you're interested in. But there's not really any point to rebuilding these minifigures when there are photos like this that I can just show you off that have already been put together. Because of the articulation of these minifigures and certain parts involved, they can also be pretty pricey compared to your typical May 4th make and take, but they look so much more cleaner. So let's waste no more time and get a look at all the different minifigures. We'll start off with the one that I was most impressed with, the Scout Trooper and the Speeder Bike. And of course, the Speeder Bike does help improve the figure. But even without the bike, the Scout Trooper just looks so good, and I really like the different elements used that you can spot, especially those tooth pieces for the feet. Now, the reason this is an alternate to my 145 minifigure Scout is these look like minifigures based off if the Yoda minifigure was the correct height, which is why I'm covering this in today's video. A lot of you asked in the comments, what if Yoda was minifigure Scout? And I think this is a really good representation of if that was the case. Now, the helmets definitely still add up to this Scout. They don't look oddly proportioned like they do with a typical minifigure. And I think that is so interesting, having the minifigures actually being perhaps children or younger adults dressing up as their favorite characters as opposed to the actual character itself, and puts a really fun spin on Lego Star Wars, especially with all the fun shorts that Lego have been coming out with. Of course, Lego at the end of the day is still a children's toy. No matter how much fun us AFOLs have with it, it is still going to be aimed at children. So having the minifigures actually be children playing dress up, I think, is an amazing canonical explanation for the Lego universe. And perhaps that's why President Business has such large legs in the Lego movie, because he's the only adult around. But we can get onto fan theories in another video for the canonicity of Lego Star Wars and the wider Lego universe. These figures do look amazing, no doubt about it, and they've actually brick built their own Yoda and R2 as well, which better fits the Scout rather than using Lego figures. Here we have Darth Vader and a few of his Stormtroopers, perhaps from the 501st Legion, that he uses when attacking Hoth. But what is really interesting is the lightsaber length in this picture. We've got a 6-length bar as opposed to a 4-length bar. And again, it's much better proportionally to the minifigure, but it makes me wonder, these are about twice the height of a regular minifigure. So should regular minifigures actually come with 3-length bars? And if so, what length would Ahsoka have for her blades? The only ones in the entire Brick Sheeper Lego Star Wars maxi figure collection, which I think has a better ring to it than minifigures, considering they're not that small, are these Jawas. I think the Jawas are quite tall. I'm probably just used to seeing them the same height as Yoda in the Lego minifigure form. But again, the pieces used are incredible. As you can see in this picture, Grogu is using the official minifigure, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure it will be near impossible to get a Grogu as detailed as this without using the official minifigure, and I really like the buggy they've put together. It's not too far off one of my early versions of the Grogu pram. But this shows you just how big these minifigures are, because in minifigure form, Grogu is an exact 1:45 scale of Yoda. If you haven't seen before, not only is Grogu 1:45 scale, but I have a custom R2-D2 that is 1:45 scale, as well as the brick-built R2-D2s are much too big and especially too wide given the size of Astromechs in universe. If you would like a more in-depth video going over my 1:45 scale and haven't already seen it, in May I posted a video that's on over 20,000 views, and I do believe as of recording this video is my most viewed video on my entire channel. At least full-length video, as shorts tend to scale a bit differently. But if you haven't seen it, I'll leave it on the end screen. Once you finish this video, definitely give it a look because it explains my 1/45 scale a bit more in depth. Going back to R2-D2, you'll notice that the scale is roughly the same with the Lego one. We can definitely nitpick, it's probably a plate here or there, but the proportions are so different because this R2-D2 is slightly wider. In fact, I'd be inclined to say it's almost 2.5, pushing 3 plates wide in the torso region, as opposed to Lego's 2x2 round brick. But the legs don't take up that full brick. Of course, at the bottom, the feet do have to, but the legs are much closer to scale with the real astromech droid when compared to the X-Wing pilot Luke, and only take up a plate, perhaps a plate and a bracket's width. And like I said, a little wider at the bottom, but that brick does overlap with the torso. The armorer is a prime example of just what can be done with these minifigures. You can see all the different wedge plates, and again, they've almost got as much detail as the official minifigures. Just rather than printing, we're actually using our Lego bricks. And even if you didn't own the original minifigure, it's much cheaper to get something like a head for Yoda and then buy the parts needed to build the rest. So if you are more of a collector when it comes to minifigures, I definitely recommend giving these a look. If you wanted to try a minifigure that didn't use any official Lego parts for that specific minifigure, I recommend starting off with Palpatine. Rather than using a face, he uses 2 studs, so you could definitely still sneak the face in if you wanted that extra detail. And I think it's very interesting to see this as opposed to what Lego give out for make and take, which is much more simplistic, like the characters you'd see at Legoland that are just using a mixture of plates and bricks. But there's no way you could get detailed like we see with a Tusken Raider head mold. So personally, I do prefer my 1/45 way of building, especially because it fits with a minifigure, and getting characters like these Bad Batch in a 1/45 shuttle is hard enough, let alone trying to build one that fits with Brick Sheeper's figures. And I think these images definitely hit a good point, which is why I've made a video here today, as well as all of the other things we have covered. Minifigures don't need to be made to fit with ships. The reason I build in a scale at all is just so I can see how big the ships are compared to each other. And this is the equivalent for minifigures. You can see Grievous isn't too much taller than Kenobi, and I do think there is a little bit of size inaccuracy here. But Grievous is also quite hunched over. If you stand Grievous up next to Kenobi, you can see how tall he truly is, like the fact that the A-Wing and Vader's advanced tie aren't too dissimilarly sized. So I know this video has been a lot of me talking about scale and looking images. I tried to keep it short and sweet and cut out any of the waffle. But if you would like to see me build the entire collection and perhaps add some minifigures of my own, drop a like on the video. I think if this is popular enough and we hit something like a couple hundred likes, I will try to build as many of my Lego Star Wars minifigures in this form as I can, and perhaps I'll need a few bigger displays if I really like them. But once again, I will leave my other scale video on the screen, and there's plenty other videos on the channel talking about scale if you would like to go down that rabbit hole. But stay tuned for more awesome Lego builds coming in the very, very near future. May the bricks be with you always.